So Pine Mountain is located in the southwest portion of Wyoming, right near the southern border. And it sits at 9,555 feet. So it's actually a pretty tall mountain. And I'm actually going to throw this up on the screen just so you can see here. Google Earth was not being my friend earlier, so I'm just going to use Google Maps, so I can't get the 3D view, which is depressing. But you can see it is very remote, kind of in the middle of nowhere. What's the closest town to this thing?
Well, Terry was from Rock Springs, Wyoming, which is about, I want to say 30 miles north.
Yeah, I'll go to terrain. Okay, so yeah, it's 30 miles into the mountains in the middle of nowhere.
It's remote. You're kind of, anyone who's familiar with Wyoming, on the western end of Wyoming, you've got, the mountain ranges. Up in the corner, you've got, what's the park in Wyoming? The big one. Yellowstone?
Yellowstone, yeah.
Yeah, you've got Yellowstone. And in the eastern, in the eastern part of the state, eastern, southern, you've got kind of highlands.
Here's Yellowstone up here.
Yeah. So
southeastern, eastern, southern.
Yeah. Getting all my locations messed up here. But for a lot of part of the state is just, high plains country. It's arid.
Yeah, so we're not going to go into too much of there's not trails or anything around here. It's not like a park. So we're going to do some interesting
a lot of access
facts.
roads and
just logging roads and things like that. You can kind of see as I zoom in here. It's
in this
Bureau
area,
of Land Management Road 4,413.
Yeah, so that's BLM land.
Yes,
and really good hunting. This is a very popular area for hunters in Wyoming. So.
All right, so we're going to do some interesting facts about Wyoming because we don't have a lot of information specifically about this spot. So Wyoming, Mike, is the least populous state in the country, even though it's the 10th largest by area. According to census records, approximately 586,000 people live within its 97,818 square miles. To put that into perspective, the smallest state in the U.S. is Rhode Island and has an area of only 1,200 square miles and is home to 1.05 million people. So it's half the people in, I don't even know, you're the accountant. What percentage of square miles is that? You're almost 100,000 square. It's 1% of the space. And it's twice the people.
Yeah, it's small. I mean, even 586,000 is about the population of Milwaukee.
Okay.
And our metro area is about 1.5 million.
Okay, so it's the city of Milwaukee spread out across one of the 10th largest state.
Yeah.
All right. So if you want to buy land, it's probably really inexpensive in Wyoming. The outlaw, Harry Alonzo Longbaugh, a.k.a. the Sundance Kid, took his nickname from the town of Sundance, Wyoming, where he was jailed at the age of 15 for stealing a horse.
It's like Grand Theft Auto, but a horse.
I was going to do a dad joke, and I'm just not going to now.
You could still do it.
Well, no.
Okay.
Okay. The mythical creature known as the jackalope was born in the 1930s when, in Douglas, Wyoming, Douglas Herrick and his brother Ralph decided to add antlers to a dead jackrabbit they had taxidermied. They sold the creatures and their tall tale to anyone willing to buy. You can still get a jackalope hunting license in the city. Now, did he literally live in a town named after himself?
I don't know.
Douglas,
pretty cool.
Douglas Herrick from Douglas, Wyoming. There's so few people there. It's just like, it's my town, and I have this jackalope.
It's just a coincidence, maybe.
Yeah, so if you ever see like a rabbit head with like 2-prong antler sticking out of it, that's not a real animal. It's a jackalope. And they're all over the place in Wisconsin. Northern Wisconsin bars all have a jackalope.
That's funny.
And they all talk about it like nobody knows that it's not real. Nearly half of the state, or 48%, is owned by the United States government. Its Wyoming-based holdings include National Forest, the National Grassland, and an Air Force base in the capital. Wyoming didn't raise the legal drinking age from 19 to 21 until 1988. It's the last state of the union to do so. Because if you live there, there's no people and you need to drink.
Yep.
James Cash Penny opened his first store on April 14th, 1902 in Kemmerer, Wyoming. Today, there are approximately 1,020 J.C. Penney stores across America. There you go. J.C. Penney started in Wyoming.
Yep.
The Spanish Empire claimed southwestern Wyoming until it was ceded to the United States in the year 1848 at the end of the Mexican-American War. We're going to go into a little bit of the climate now. The state is considered a semi-arid semi-arid east of the mountains. And since the mountain ranges lie in the general north-south direction, they are perpendicular to the prevailing westerlies. Therefore, the westerlies. Sorry, the mountain ranges provide effective barriers which force the air currents to move in from the Pacific Ocean to rise and drop much of their moisture along the western slopes.
You see this on the West Coast in like Washington and Oregon.
Yes, super green areas on one side,
temperate rainforests near the ocean, and on the eastern side of the states. If you've ever driven through either of those states, it's pretty dry.
Yes,
so it's pretty cool.
Heck yeah, I love weather.
Yes.
Snow accumulates to considerable depths in the high mountains, and many of the streams fed by the melting snow furnish ample quantities of water for irrigation for the thousands of acres of land. Because of its elevation, Wyoming has a relatively cool climate. Most of the state is above 6,000 feet level, with temperatures rarely exceeding 100 degrees. Actually, is the whole state above 6,000 feet?
On average. There are, kind of interesting.
There's a couple really deep holes that people dug.
The Yellowstone area is actually one of the lowest points in the state.
Okay.
And but I think it's in here.
It's okay.
Further down
so
the line.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
The warmest parts of the state are the lower portions of Bighorn Basin, the lower elevations of central and northeast portions, and along the eastern border. For most of the state, mean maximum temperatures in July range between 85 and 95. With increasing elevation, the average values drop rapidly. A few places in the mountains at about 9,000 feet level have an average maximum in July close to 70. Summer nights are almost invariably cool, even though daytime readings may be quite high at times. For most places away from the mountains, the mean minimum temperature in July ranges from 50 to 60. Of course, the mountains and high valleys are much cooler, with average lows in the middle of summer in the 30s and 40s, with occasional drops below freezing. So it can snow all year round up there.
Yeah,
it's rare in July, but it can snow in the mountains. In January, the coldest month generally, minimum temperatures range from 5 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit. In the Western Valley, mean values go down to about 5 degrees below zero. The record low for the state is negative 66 degrees Fahrenheit, observed February 9th, 1933, at Yellowstone Park. During warm spells in the winter, nighttime temperatures frequently remain above freezing. Chinooks, warm downslope winds, are common along the eastern slopes. The period of maximum precipitation occurs in the spring and early summers for most of the state. Precipitation is greater over the mountain ranges and usually at higher elevations, although elevation alone is not the predominant influence. So it rains a lot in the mountains.
Yeah.
For example, over most of the southwest portion, where the elevation ranges from 6,500 to 8,500 feet, annual precipitation varies from 7 to 10 inches. That's not that much, actually.
No.
At lower elevations over northeast portions and along the eastern border, where elevations are mostly in the range of 4,000 to 5,500 feet, the annual average is from 12 to 16 inches. The relatively dry southwest portion is a high plateau nearly surrounded by mountain ranges. So the terrain. As we said before, it's pretty much high all over the states. Mean elevation is 6,700 feet above sea level. And even when the mountains are excluded, the average elevation over the southern part of the state is well over 6,000 feet, while much of the northern portion is some 2,500 feet lower. The lowest point, and this gets to your point, so it is way lower, is 3,125 feet in the northeast corner where Belle Fork River, I know that's wrong. Don't yell at me.
Forche.
Belle Forche River.
It sounds French.
Yeah, Belle Forche River. The state line into South Dakota. The highest point is Gannett Peak at 13,785 feet, which is part of the Wind River Range in west central portion. So they don't have any 14ers. They're close, but not enough.
Nope.
So some of the animals that you'll expect to see out there, mountain lions, although not commonly seen, mountain lions are widespread throughout Wyoming. They prefer rocky, bushy areas with steep slopes and cliffs and scattered openings in the trees. But in the past few years, they have been encountered in more marginal habitats, often close to human habitation. Black bears are there too. Black bears in Wyoming are found across the state, occupying a large range of habitats from those above timberline to river bottoms. You also have elk, foxes, coyote, prairie rattlesnakes, midget-faded rattlesnakes, northern Pacific rattlesnakes. Are any of them poisonous?
So the three are listed there are pretty poisonous. Those are the ones you don't want to come across. And for anyone listening, these animals are kind of just what Terry could have come across. There's a lot of other, mammals and stuff in the area, but
no, there's no more. Those are the only animals in all of Wyoming.
But up in Yellowstone, obviously, they have grizzlies. So they're
do they? Yeah. Do we know for a fact?
Yes.
Okay.
There obviously are bison in Wyoming and moose, but those are found in different locations, not really where Terry was hunting.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, bison typically aren't in the mountains.
No.
They're like giant minivans. Let's see here. This goes over terrain again.
Yep.
In the area where Terra's missing is very rugged. I showed you on the map if you were watching the screen. We got some...
I found a website that had some really good pictures of Pine Mountain.
I'll pull this up real quick.
So
I'll throw it up there, and we'll verbally describe as much as possible. Let me go live here. Oh, there's a nice dog. What type of dog is that?
At first, I thought it was the Doge cryptocurrency dog, but it's not.
No.
So it.
Oh yeah, look at that. It's just flat land, and you see a mountain in the distance.
Yeah. So this does also kind of give us an idea of what the terrain, around where Terry went missing might have looked like.
Like desert-ish. It's the arid.
It's arid, dry. Yeah. Around the mountains, it gets very rugged.
Yeah, it's not totally desolate, but if anyone's driven through any of these states where it's just low-lying grass and it looks like sand everywhere, that's what it's looking like.
Yeah, it's it reminds me a lot of we've driven through Wyoming.
Yeah.
At least I have.
To get to Glacier?
Yeah.
Yep. It's a very boring drive.
And
at night, did you ever drive at night? Were we together when we drove at night? Yes.
Yeah.
And we we had to drive 35 miles on the freeway because there were like hundreds of deer just in the roads all the time. Like we couldn't drive freeway speeds or we would just hit deer over and over again. And there was just no off-roads.
No.
I remember being worried about gas at one point because we're like, okay, we're just on a road forever.
But it looks really cool. It looks like a fun spot to hike.
I bet at night it's beautiful. And there's nothing around, so there's probably zero light pollution.
Yeah.
It's probably gorgeous on a clear night.
The thing with Pine Mountain is the north side of the mountain is very heavily wooded, and the south side is pretty barren and desolate.
So if you do it right, you can kind of go through not desert-ish.
Well, yeah, and Terry would have been...
We're good. Just keep going.
Okay. Terry would have been on the north side of the mountain.
Okay.
Because that's obviously where the wooded side is.
Yeah, that's where if you're hunting, you're not going to find too many animals in this.
Yeah, so pretty cool.
Right. Yes.
We'll post a link to that website in the show notes so people can check it out and see the pictures.
All right. Let me get back into here. Okay, so exposure. If he's on that side, as we said, there's more trees, so it's not too exposed to the elements. You're not going to get too hot, probably, so wouldn't have to worry about that. It was I lost connection to this website. It decided to make a noise. I have to learn how to turn those noises off. Some of the things you can have, though, are hailstorms, the most destructive type of storm for the state. And every year, damage to crops and property from hail amount to many thousands of dollars. Occasionally, a hailstorm will pass over a city and cause severe damage. Most of the hailstorms pass over the open rangeland and damage is slight. Although in small areas of crop-producing land, some farmers occasionally lose an entire crop by hail. That's crazy.
So hail
must be big hail.
Yeah, hail is not a weather phenomenon that we typically talk about in these cases. But when I was looking up weather and things in Wyoming, hail kept coming up as one of the biggest hazards.
So it's frequent enough that it's worth mentioning, and we have not seen that before.
I think it has to probably do with, and obviously not a meteorologist, but Wyoming has a lot of wind.
You look like a meteorologist.
It's very windy. So that probably has something to do with
you're not allowed to make those claims.
Yeah.
If you're not a meteor. Okay, so my only understanding of where hail comes from is from a Magic School Bus episode when I was a child.
Oh yeah.
And this is how I think it works. And when you're talking, I'll look it up.
Okay.
But it's rain that gets caught in updraft, so it goes down and then comes back up and it freezes, then it refreezes, and it goes in this cycle until it gets too heavy and then finally falls.
I think that sounds right.
So, if the updraft is strong enough, it keeps refreezing until it get bigger. But if it's not, it'll drop when it's smaller.
Yeah.
I think that's how it works.
I'm pretty sure you're on.
And if I am onto something, we need to bring Magic School Bus back.
Yeah, you remembered something.
I know.
That in Reading Rainbow.
Yes.
Remember that show?
I love that All right. So outside of that, blizzards in winter at high elevations, that's always a thing in the mountains.
And especially in Wyoming, this has to do with it's a very, like, a lot of wind in that state.
Yes.
So I read a lot. Blizzards are a big issue when you're in elevation.
Yeah, you'll get whiteout conditions, and then you always have the hazard of falling.
Yeah,
especially if you're in a blizzard and trying to move around and can't see.
Yeah.
So difficulty in general. The detective on this case said that the area is not for people who don't know what they're doing or know the area, and cell phone coverage is very spotty.
Yeah. So like, if you go and look at Google Maps, like we said, it's a massive state. This county that Terry went missing in is one of the largest counties in the country, and it's remote.
Largest in size.
In size,
okay,
yeah.
Not population.
No. And it's remote. There's no facilities out here.
I go back to satellite. Let's see if we can get an idea of like where So those are trees.
Yeah. So
that's crazy. It's like I thought, like didn't know what that was. Like it's so desolate. Like look at this patch of trees.
Yeah, it's kind of like an oasis. Kind of if you look
at
the rest.
Yeah, you zoom out. Like here's trees, and then this is all just dry, arid.
Yeah, it's like an island of mountain.
So I bet that's just chock full of animals.
Yeah, that's why it's a very popular hunting spot for people in Wyoming.
Okay.
So
I believe you now. I didn't believe you at first.
Yeah. Okay.